the Sussex brand continues to crumble in real time after being called effing grifters by Spotify and whining T-words by Kelly Osbourne. But with their ailing reputations on the line, this was the bombshell revelation on last night's show from royal biographer Tom Bower that Harry and Meghan are plotting to, wait for it, change their surnames from Windsor to Spencer.
What's really interesting in the rebranding of the Sussexes is, what I also heard very recently is, that Meghan decided that her real object in life was to be Diana. That has always been her passion. That has also been Harry's passion. And Meghan went to the extent of suggesting that they should drop the name Windsor and take the surname Spencer. So she'd be Meghan Spencer, the new Diana. And I think
this is a plan that they have actively discussed?
They've actively discussed it, not only by themselves, but with others too.
So what do you think? Should Harry and Meghan stay Windsors or change to Spencer? Dan at gbnews.com. Vote in our poll at GB News. But a box office lineup debating this tonight. Top Daily Telegraph columnist and friend of the Queen, Petronella Wyatt, and social commentator, supporter of Harry and Meghan, Amy Ansell. So, Petronella, what's odd about this is that really a last name, a surname, shouldn't it just be used as part of a PR rebrand, shouldn't it?
Well, of course it shouldn't, but there are immense difficulties with this because if you're living in California as a non-resident, which Harry is, you cannot change your name anyway. He'd have to change it in the UK. Meghan would have to do the same because she married in the UK.
So there's practical difficulties, number one. Because they'd lose their titles too, wouldn't they?
Well, yes, they would. And secondly, if they've been discussing it, it shows how desperate they are. I mean, they've already lost
two families.
But they are desperate, though, we know that. I mean, Meghan's basically lost hers, except her mother. Then they've lost a royal family. Now they want to borrow the Spencers. I honestly don't think the Spencer family will want them, frankly. I mean, I know Charles Spencer, and
what does he think of Harry and Meghan?
I don't think he's a big fan. And after Diana died, he didn't see very much of him. And I really don't think they would want the hoo-ha. And the whole idea is simply ludicrous. They can't just join another family.
No. Amy Ansell, you actually like this idea, though, don't you?
I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it'll be the start of a new chapter. And I also think that, you know, their biggest critics always say they're trading on the family name, they're trading on the family name. Well, they won't be anymore.
Well, they will, because they'll be trading on Diana's name. And in any case, it's just not possible. Because the Spencers will say, I'm terribly sorry, but you can't possibly suddenly join our family and take our name.
Don't you think it's a bit...
We don't know that
but, Amy,
just
don't
yet.
you think it's...
Oh, I think
Don't you think it's
do.
a bit cynical, Amy, though, to trade off a last name simply because your career has gone wrong?
Well, it's not like they've picked this name out of the blue. Obviously, he has these relations from generations back. It is his mother's maiden name, so there's nothing wrong with it. Yes, I mean, there are other people that have done similarly. I just think it's a great time to do it. New chapter, fresh start. Obviously, they can, you know, say no to the critics that have always said you're trading on the family name. And also, I do think this brings Diana closer to Harry, and we know how close he was with her. And also, we know that obviously there's a history with Queen Camilla, and many people have said...
excuse me, there isn't a history with Queen Camilla.
Well, I'm saying in a negative way.
And
so
also,
I do think...
Does Harry really want to be this permanent man-child clinging to his dead mother's, shirt sleeves?
But what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
Well,
he wants to be closer to his mother.
Started to misrepresent Diana?
Change your name, especially if you're a member of the royal family.
Why can't you change your name?
Because there are actual rules. For example, when Prince Philip married our late Queen Elizabeth II, you would expect that their children would take his name, which was Mountbatten. They did not, because they were royal. They became Windsors. It's not like a civilian family. It's...
But they're not working royals anymore.
But they are members...
So why can't they treat themselves...
Because they're in the line of succession.
Well, Harry is.
Harry is
not.
it doesn't matter. Harry is, and his children are prince and princesses of the blood. He is a prince of the blood.
Petronella, isn't it odd the way, though, Harry almost wants to misrepresent what Diana stood for? Because I know a lot of people... I mean, we probably disagree about Diana. I adored her. I thought she was a really positive force for the world. However, she didn't want to bring down the royal family in the way that Harry and Meghan did. She wanted to bring down her ex-husband, sure, but she absolutely believed in the monarchy. And I think Harry and Meghan have sort of bought into a fiction about what Diana was really about.
Well, I think that's that's true. And I think there are a lot of Diana fans who also perpetrate that fiction. I mean, Diana was an establishment girl. She was an English aristocrat.
Yes.
Of course she didn't want to bring down the royal family. Of course she had issues with Charles, but after the divorce, they actually got on very well. And
At times.
At times.
At times. Come on. Sometimes they did. Sometimes they were at each other's throats.
They got on better. But she would never have done anything to...
And how upsetting would this be for Charles? Because it's like another knock to him, isn't it?
It would be a terrible blow. I mean, imagine if your son, or imagine if my son wanted to change his name. I mean, you'd think he hates me so much.
I mean, Amy, hasn't he put Charles through enough?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Obviously, Charles knows how important Diana was to his son. And also, I feel that it will show the world, the public, that Harry and Meghan are stronger than ever.
But they're not.
But they're not.
They are. We don't know.
I've just been axed by Spotify.
as I know-
They're about to be axed by Netflix. Dior wants nothing to do with this.
As a couple. Yes, because if he was planning
but do you
to
really,
go back
do you really believe
he
that?
wouldn't have changed. He wouldn't be
then I have a
thinking of
great
changing the
idea.
name.
Yeah.
Why don't they both change their name to Markle? Why don't they just use Meghan's...
Well, it would have to be Doria's name, wouldn't it, Raglan?
Oh, Raglan. Then they
Because they hate the Markles, remember? They want nothing to do with the Markles.
And then they won't be trading on anybody.
Yeah, that's a nicer idea. That's a nicer idea. Amy, it's interesting that you say you think they're stronger than ever because they're not really doing anything together these days. Meghan's very much backed away from Harry publicly.
This is what we see from the public perspective, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm sure there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I do think if they change their last name to Spencer, they are making it very clear that they are not coming back to the UK anytime soon. And in particular, Harry will not be going back to the royal family.
Well, it depends what happens, doesn't it, with Meghan?
Well, but we know that they're not coming back to England. I don't think Harry will ever come back to England. But changing his name would be an impossibility, in my view.
OK. Fascinating debate. Petronella Wyatt, Amy Ansell, do stand by. But who do you agree with here? Should Harry and Meghan keep the Windsor surname or change it to Spencer? Judith writes, yes, change to Spencer or Raglan so there is absolutely no connection left to the royal family that they stabbed in the back. I see where you're coming from, Judith. From Katie, as much as I detest the pair of them being remotely attached to our royal family now, changing from Windsor would be so disrespectful to his own father, King Charles, and our wonderful late Queen. Oh, my goodness, I know. She would be horrified by this suggestion. And from Emma, changing to Spencer makes me think they are planning to live life more like Diana and utilise her name to popularise themselves in a more Diana fashion. So the name change is perhaps quite a calculating move. And your verdict is now, and this is a split decision, a close one. 43% of you want Harry and Meghan to stay as Windsors. 57% of you say go and become Spencers, drop the titles, I presume, and cut that connection to the royal family. Really fascinating debate.